Good afternoon. Probably one of the hardest verses for pre-tribulation rapture defenders to deal with is 2Thess chapter 2, and verse 3. And because that's the idea that rapture wouldn't be imminent, that we have to wait for the man of sin to show up. But finally, as a teacher, he has a work here by Stauffer and Ray, where he gets it right. Gets exactly the issue. All the other people, they try and say, welcome, try to say it's the Pope. People knew it before. Or they try and change the word, falling away. It doesn't mean falling away. It means the rapture and other weird. You have to do the King James Bible the way it is. And you don't have to change anything. But he points out very clearly here, it is imperative to note the only stipulation preventing the clock from starting on the day of Christ. He makes them note the day of Christ, not the day of the Lord. Two different events. This is falling away. The Bible does not say, as some mistakenly teach, that the man of sin must be revealed first. So I had somebody, right, put a comment on there and say, well, no one knows the man of sin. That's right. But they misunderstand there's a gap between that comma. 2Thess 2:3 simply continues chronologically and incorporates a gap of time at the comma found the word first. This is similar to the gap of time found a few verses later at the comma and verse 8 after the word revealed. Neither verse 3 nor verse 8 reveals events that happen simultaneously. And he goes on to explain it. So here's a work, Reviving the Blessed Hope, that deals with the most important, difficult passage of 2Thess chapter 2 that pre-trib people have. It's that verse, that the rapture is imminent. We're not waiting around to see man of sin. We're not waiting around to see signs either. People looking for signs. It's imminent. Once the falling away began, which began on Paul's day. The falling away began pretty quickly. But, because heresy started popping in. But here Stauffer's got it right. So if you guys are going to defend the pre-trib rapture out there, the 2Thess, as well the post-trib guys, and the mid-trib guys, they're going to run the 2Thess and say, well, you have to wait for the man of sin to show up. And the fact is you don't. There's a gap. People hate the word gap. They go crazy. Gaps are all over the Bible. The Lord used the gap. And from in Luke chapter 4, he went back to Isaiah chapter 61. Between Isaiah chapter 61 and 1 and 2. And the day of the acceptable day of the Lord, as opposed to the day of wrath. Let's see, Isaiah 61. Look for see. Verse 19, 4:19, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord, Isaiah 61:2. You go to Isaiah 61:2. To proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn. He stopped there. He stopped at a comma. Because it was the acceptable year of the Lord. It's two different advents. There's a gap. 2,000-year gap. But the day of vengeance is coming. And the day of vengeance of our God is coming. That's the second advent. But gaps are very common. People go crazy. Gaps? There's a guy dealing with the gap between Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 2:3. And he said, well, no, there's no gap, and David, he saw everything good. He said everything good between Genesis 1:3, I think 1:3 and 1:5, when he created the filament. But the point is, you got to account for Satan. God isn't telling us something happened in the first few chapters. Because Satan shows up in the chapter 3. Where did he come from? Lucifer, who fell. So there's a gap somewhere. These people go crazy. Evil came in somewhere. There's something had to happen that's not explained in Genesis chapters 1, 2, and 3. You can put it in Genesis 1:1. You You could put in Genesis between Genesis chapter 2 and 3. But you're going to put something somewhere. It's not straight through. But here's the case in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. So if I recommend get the book by Stauffer. Stauffer's been doing a lot of good work. Dispensationalism. He has a book on the writing. I should read it. Has some problems with some issues, some things he said, but most of it's pretty sound. And again, he's the only teacher I've seen so far. We got to understand the issue that there's a point of punctuation issue here, and the rapture is imminent, and that comma separates a period of time. The falling away first, then the comma. The day of Christ is happening. The rapture happens, and it's going on. And read Larkin. That's what we have. You see Larkin. The judgment seat of Christ is going on while he calls the day of Antichrist is going on earth. But I recommend you to get it so you'd have a good solid defense of defending pre-tribulation rapture with that verse. That's probably the most problematic verse that pre-tribulation rapture people have. And understand that pre-trib rapture being imminent. Not looking for a man of sin. We're supposed to be looking for a blessed hope. We're looking for the rapture. We're looking for Christ coming back to get us. We're not looking for anything else. Don't look at how close we are. Look at this sign. Look at that sign. Look at this. Look at that. We know it could happen any moment. Watch. The only thing necessary to happen is the completion of the church. Once the completion of the church happens, the rapture has to happen. Because the church is complete. You can't put anybody else there. You can't have the church and another saved person around. A different body. A different a saved person outside the church in that dispensation. The church has to go up, and then you get saved Jews and saved Gentiles. So I recommend the book. Get it so you can get really rooting grounded in defending that from that particular verse, and so you'll be able to defend the faith, defend the truth when you get guys who attack the preacher of rapture, and people have questions on that. And I'll tell you, most teachers I've seen never handled it correctly. Buckman goes, people always knew the man of sin was the Pope. And no, this is a particular man of sin. This is the man of sin, not, who would take like an office or something. So they try to get around it and double talk, and, no, you can't get, and they try to make a day of Christ the day of the Lord. And she says, well, the day of Christ really is a synonym for the day of the Lord. No, it's not. The day of Christ is a different particular day. It's talking about for the church. The rapture of the church and the judgment seat of Christ for the church. So I'll stop here and put this up. Amen. Thank you.